Welcome everyone, this is Garrett Green Gaming, and today I want to talk about Bungie stealing artwork. And as bad as that sounds, it's probably much worse than that. So there's this artist on Twitter who goes by Anti-Real, and she posted some screenshots of her artwork and how closely it resembles Bungie's new game Marathon. And she posts about how she was suspicious a couple years ago when she started seeing the art design of the game. And then she said she pretty much knew they were stealing from her when they released the alpha footage in the new trailer. So she posted it on Twitter, and it was so blatantly obvious, that Bungie immediately had to admit that they stole it. And that in itself is completely mind-blowing. So we're going to go over Bungie's response to this, and it is quite something. It's probably the biggest bullshit response I've ever seen in my life. So let's take a second and go over this, and I will stop while I'm reading this to point out the garbage that they are spewing with this response. So let's check it out. We immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in-game. Now, they're blaming a former Bungie employee. How convenient. How convenient. Now, it's funny because the one thing that people were praising about Marathon is the art style. And it's like the only thing that people are praising about. So it's funny that somehow the person responsible for the art design was fired years ago before they knew they were stealing the art. How convenient. Huh. Interesting. This part is worse though. They said these were included in a texture sheet that were ultimately used in game. It was no texture sheet. It was the whole art design. The whole art style was taken from this woman's work. How outrageous of a statement is that? I cannot fathom the hubris and the BS that comes from Bungie. That's unbelievable. But it gets better. Let's continue. The issue was unknown by our existing art team, and we are still reviewing how this oversight occurred. We take matters like this very seriously. We reached out to Anti-Real to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's how easy it is to do right after you are caught, not the years beforehand as their artwork was being stolen. This next part is my favorite. Okay. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission. As a matter of policy, it's illegal to steal people's art. What policy? Who has to make a policy not to steal people's art? And by the way, this is like the fourth time Bungie has been accused of stealing people's art. So apparently, it is your policy to steal people's art. What the hell kind of statement is that? It better not be your policy to steal people's art, but apparently it is because you keep doing it. What? That is one of the biggest BS statements I've ever seen from a company. And it's funny, they put this in the thread. This is its own little statement in the thread. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Okay, let's continue. To prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by former Bungie artists. Here we go, blaming the former Bungie artists again. And implementing a stricter checks to document all artist contribution. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. We value the creativity and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and we are committed to doing right by them. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Oh my God. Okay. Taking no responsibility at all, blaming former employees, trying to act all high and mighty, taking the moral ground. But it's our policy. It's our policy to not steal from people. It's our policy. No, it is your policy, you dumb pieces of shit. What the hell kind of state? This is one of the worst apologies I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen some terrible apologies, and this takes the cake. I mean, in Anti-Real's statement, she was talking about how she's barely having enough to get by. You know, she's not making much money from she's not making much money from her artwork, and here you have $1 billion corporation just straight up stealing it from her and then releasing a bullshit statement like this. And like I said, they have been accused of stealing stuff before. Right now they're going through a lawsuit about one of their expansions, the Red War. I don't know much about it, but apparently the story ideas may or may not have been stolen or whatever. And there's been some other instances of Bungie allegedly taking people's artwork. I don't know much about that, but I just know you can look it up. There's other stories about them potentially taking people's artwork. I don't know too much about that, so I'm going to keep it to this story right here because they admitted it firsthand. They admitted it, but they didn't admit it. They admitted it because it was so obvious, but they still tried to pass the blame. So it's clear there is a pattern of behavior from this company here. And it's not just the stealing allegations that Bungie is involved with. There has been SA allegations throughout their company. One of their former lead developers, Chris Barrett, was fired for making advances on employees that worked for him. Meanwhile, they tried to cancel this guy, Reforge Gaming, over false allegations of similar things. And it all turned out to be lies. And you know, they knew about it, and it was a purposeful, like, witch hunt. I don't like to use that word, but it was. They tried to cancel this guy, and it all turned out to be false. Meanwhile, they're protecting actual predators within their company. So this company is one of the worst in gaming. They should not exist anymore. They are toxic to the core. And the other aspect to this story is Sony, because Sony bought Bungie a couple years ago for $4 billion, and now they got to deal with this mess. And you know, this news came at the exact same time as Jade Raymond, the head of Haven Studios, left the studio, and they were making Fair games. And that was another one of Sony's live service games that was not looking good. And you know, they had Concord, and now Marathon is going through this crap. And now Fair Games. So that's like 3 live service games that look like complete disasters from Sony. So there's that aspect to it too. So there's a lot going on with this. And I don't think this story is going to end. This story is much bigger than I think people are realizing. The fact that they just so blatantly tried to steal this person's artwork. This multi-billion-dollar corporation stealing from people just trying to make it by, and then trying to sweep it under the rug and blame former employees like nothing's happening. This is disgusting. It's insane that we're watching this and we can read their response, their bullshit apology. It's so blatantly bullshit. I mean, I can't fathom how they thought they could do this. Not only that, they did a stream. They did a stream the other day after this happened with the art director, Joseph Cross. And he had to read a statement before the stream. The stream was to talk about Marathon the game. And I can't believe they went through the stream and put the main culprit in 4K on the screen, and he's reading a statement of how, oh, we didn't know, it was a former employee, we'll be better in the future. It was basically the same response I just read, and he read it again in 4K from the main culprit who stole this person's artwork. It was mind-boggling. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch Joseph Cross reading this apology letter live in 4K on Twitch. I can't believe they put him out here like that. I think they're going to throw him under the bus next. But I think he's actually the culprit in this because he is the head art director. So it's insane what's happening here. And, you know, I'm really interested to see what happens next. I don't think Marathon definitely can't recover from this. But I don't think Bungie as a company can recover from this. And I think this is actually the next step of Sony just completely taking over Bungie and just like completely getting rid of everyone that works there, or at least the main developers, the main CEOs, the main leaders of the corporation, like Pete Parsons and Joseph Cross. those people need to get the hell out of here. Those people are terrible, terrible people and should not be involved in gaming. So, I don't know, man. I don't like to be negative like this, but this is just unbelievable. This is unbelievable. So anyway, that's all I got for this crazy story. But, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will be back soon with more videos. See ya.